Good evening, folks. Here we are getting ready to start a new reveal. I haven't stuffed the names in the flip inserts yet. I've gotten everything else done. I had a little bit of a involuntary involvement in a neighborhood issue that I had to be there and had to help resolve. And it took a little bit of time, and I was able to rush back here and get back here just in time to get the broadcast started, but realized I had taken all the time that I was going to spend on getting ready for this broadcast and used it in a neighborhood issue that had to be resolved. And so here I am, ready to go. I'm ready to go, but my supplies aren't quite there yet. We'll be doing it here in a very short period of time. I'd say probably 5 minutes. We'll be into this roll. This is a 1949S roll. A 1949S has a lot of wonderful implications. I almost can't wait to break into this roll. It's going to be a really nice one. I've just got that feeling. I got another couple of rolls with this that were wrapped in the same type of paper from the same group of coins, and the coins I opened out of the other roll that I got were absolutely stunning coins, very nice condition. Who do we have here? Well, there's Rudy. Hey, Steeler 69. I got a neighbor down the street who is a devout Cowboys fan, and I went down to his house and was talking with him the other evening, and he had a Cowboys shirt on, and I asked him if he lost a bet. I know I'm cruel, but I don't think the Cowboys even showed up to that game the other day. Yes, Jeff, I was able to get you 3 spots in here, so you are involved in this particular reveal. The only one that I did not hear from, there's 2 of them that I did not hear from, that I'll just absorb the cost of the coins if it turns out that they do not want the coins, was Solo Smoke. I never heard from Solo Smoke as to whether or not he wanted to continue involvement in this reveal. He was in reveal number 299. And then the other one was Coins and Ghouls, Adam Chambers. I have not heard from him with regard to whether he wanted to be in this reveal or not. Everyone else in this reveal has given me the green light to put them in. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. This is definitely one you don't want to miss, that's for sure. I think this one's going to be good. I mean, this roll has been wrapped up for God knows a long time. And yes, the coins are starting to come out of the roll, and the reason for that is because the roll was actually taped shut at the end. And as I understand it, the dealer who owned the roll before I did opened it up to spill a couple of pennies out in his showcase at a show to be able to show off how nice the roll looked. And he doesn't know anything about varieties or anything, so these haven't been searched. Nobody's pulled anything out of these or messed with this roll. This roll is as it came. And we are like a minute and a half away. I am frantically working here, trying to get everything together. I'm stuffing the little name cards inside of the flip inserts. Now we just know that Carl gets coin number 37. Was it 37, 38? One of them. I don't know. All I'm doing is stuffing names. I'm not reading them because I do this at random, basically completely at random. I'm grabbing them off a pile in the desk and throwing them into the sleeves. Found 3 DDO3. What DDO3? Which one? And did it come out of something I sold to you? People forget to include that there is a date and mint mark involved with that. I'm going to miss a lot of the early conversation because I'm not going to have time to go back and read through it and respond to all of it. I will read it after we get finished with the reveal. I'll go back and read what I missed and send emails out if I need to. There we go. We are ready. Except that I need to get my camera turned on. Oop. There's my power flashing a little bit. Let's see what I have going on here. It is not open. Open the valve. Alright. Gonna go ahead and put coin number 1 up on here so I can focus on it. Alright, there we go. And we are ready. Let's see. There we go. We are ready to go. We've got coin number 1 under the scope already, and I just put it under there so I can focus. Still don't know if it has anything on it. Let's go ahead and get started. What we're looking for today is, let me bring up my website here real quick, because I want to be able to show you guys some of this stuff that you can find in 1949S. It's a very interesting and eclectic mix of really nice double dies and whatnot. So let's take a look at 49S real quick and get a little bit of acclimation with what's going on here. 1949S is actually really, really nice. We have these, there's 3 different double dies known that involve the 4 of the date. And if you look here carefully, you can see how the 4 has like an extra hump on the top. Well, that is the style of 4 used in 1948 over the style, or actually under the style used in 1949. So basically what happened here is somebody had a hub from 1948 that they had filled in or polished off the last digit and turned it into a 9 and used that hub to hub 1949 dies, not realizing that, see which ones? Oh, the DDO number 3. Okay, 49S DDO number 3. And you're looking at what a good price would be for them? You know, these prices are relatively accurate. If they're really nice, high-end, uncirculated coins, I don't see any problem with getting $200 to $250 for them. They are very nice. But anyhow, the shape of the 4 is different in 1948 than it is in 1949. In 48, it had a blunt, rounded point on the top. In 1949, it has a flat top. And when you put them two together, this is what they look like when they're together. There's 3 different double dies known that we know that because of the position of the mint mark, and the markers are different on all 3 of them. That's one of them there. This is another one. We need to replace the images on these, but this one actually has doubling in the tail of the 9 as well, along with that same doubling in the 4. And then the third one, die number 1 actually, is this right here. And they all look very, very similar to one another, but they are different from one another. Just trust me that we've done overlays on this and realized that these are indeed different dies. I don't think they really cared back in that day, but this is one of the nicer things that we're looking for here for 1949S. We've got RPM number 1 here. There's actually 2 additional S's to the west. It looks almost like 1938S RPM number 2 that has the 2 additional S's to the west. And we have a number of other nice, decent RPMs, some of them better than others. A lot of them, there are a number of them that show just a small amount of separation along with a separation in the, you know, a notch in the bottom corner of the mint mark. There's a lot of them like that. But these should be very fun to go through. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through the rest of these and let you take a quick look at what we've got to be looking for. There are no known 1949S over Ds. There are no known 1949 double die reverses. 1949S double die reverses. They're all double die obverses and repunchment marks is all we know about right now. So that's what we have to look for. Let's go ahead and get started on it. Let's see what we find. Here's our first coin in this roll. Last time I did a 1949S roll, there were 15 different RPMs in that roll. This one is not an RPM and not a double die. Look around the eye. We always want to be watching for doubled eyelids because they do exist in different years that have not yet been reported. I'm near sure of that. We're going to look at the reverse side on the first 10 coins because the first 10 coins are going to give us a good barometer as to whether or not we should really be watching for a new discovery double die reverse on the rest of the coins in the roll. Now that's only during the show. After the show is over, we are of course going to go through the entire roll again. When we go through the entire roll, we will be checking for double die reverses. We look for everything when we do the recheck on these. But I'm doing it with two eyes and a microscope and not a camera that I have to try to keep focused. So if we miss anything here, we'll catch it. We'll catch it on the uptake. Try to get this focus just a little bit better. I think we're slightly off on the focus. There we go. Now, I kind of like looking at things upside down because my lighting is coming from the top of the screen, the top of your screen as you see it. That's where the lighting's coming from. And to get the shadows to fall off properly off of a double die to show the doubling, you want the doubling, the direction of the doubling to be going opposite the direction of the light. So if your light's top to bottom, then you want your doubling to come off the bottom. You want to be able to see the doubling off the bottom. So, like for instance, if I had doubling on the outside of this wheat, I know my lighting is coming from the top of the screen, so I would want to angle it like this to be able to see the doubling on the outside of the wheat. And that's just it's a lighting science type thing. You'll figure it out when you get started, when you're actually working on it and trying to do this. You'll figure it out quickly. But it's just something that you get used to over time, is reading things upside down, looking at things upside down, and that's how you find more of your doubling, by looking at it in an upside down fashion. There is a nice RPM right there, 1949S RPM. Let's zoom in on that and take a good look at it. I'm going to turn on my auto exposure so we can just get an automatic exposure on these. And let me focus this in a little bit better. I had my light all moved out of the way, so I need to get my lighting back in place. Now take a look at that. There you go. That's a nice RPM. I'm sorry, Randy. Who was coin number one? Coin number one was Malcolm. Coin number two was Yeoman. Coin number three is Mike Birchman. Mike Birchman's going to get the first RPM out of this roll. Very nice looking RPM as well. Give you guys a chance to take a look at it real quick and see if you can find a matching listing for it. This one should easily have a matching listing that you'd be able to find on any one of the websites that deal with 1949S RPM Lincoln cents. But for the moment, I'm just going to call this die number one for this roll. Find a really good marker I can use other than the very wide split lower serif. It looks like we have some pretty nice looking die scratches flowing north and south all around the one. It's number 4. Okay. Number 4. Okay. Carl, you have not missed anything yet. You haven't missed one of your coins. We're only on coin number 3. I was a little late getting prepped and ready because I had a issue happen in my neighborhood that I had to attend to. And I'm just now really getting started with things. This is the first coin that we have looked at that has a variety on it. And I am being told from my experienced audience that this is RPM number 4, 1mm004. So we're going to put this in its own little holder right here for Mike. And I will set it aside so that we can account for it as an RPM. And I'll move on to coin number 4. Coin number 4 is going to go to Adam Connor. Looks like we got started just about 30 minutes late. I do apologize, folks. Stuff happens. And I don't think the situation really cared whether I had work to do or not. So, there you have it. I am looking especially at that little mark on the inside of the 4. On the inside of the triangle of the 4, I've got a little stray mark there that look like it could be doubling, and I'm not going to call it doubling, and here's the reason why. It's the only mark of its kind in the date. You would think that if you had hub doubling, first of all, it would be completely parallel to the mark on the 4, and it's not. It's actually slightly off parallel, tilted slightly to the left. And you don't see anything like it in the 9s or on the other side of the 4. So I'm altogether going to discount that as a die scratch. Here's a die gouge over the L of Liberty. I've got to turn that automatic off. It's just too distracting. There we go. Make it work a little better for us there. I'm constantly having to change the exposure settings because it's a manual, basically a manual camera at this point. So anytime I change the reflection that's coming back up into the optics, I have to change the actual exposure of the camera. And nothing on the reverse of this one either. Carl, yes I will. Yes I will. I will have 1 pound wheat bags available. I guess I can try to make some available for the auction coming up on Tuesday. Here's one for Randy. What do you think, Randy? I think you've got an RPM. It has a little tiny bit of damage in the important area. Little damage to the mint mark itself, but this is a different RPM than the one we looked at a little bit earlier. A nicely split lower serif. There's a very heavy die scratch going straight up through the through the western part of the 4, through the left section of the 4. Did we see some wood on one of these coins? I didn't really notice it, actually. Did not notice it. Looking for anything going on. The reverse on this. Don't see anything there. That's for Randy, so we have a second different RPM now. This is more like what I was looking for in the 49D roll. This is why I wanted to make sure that I did something that was actually going to amount to something. I'm glad this one is. Here is another example of the same die we just got for Randy, but this one's a little more visible because, well, the S hasn't been crushed by a hit. But you can see that extra little serif right there, sticking down out of the bottom of the S. That's an extra little serif right there. And I can tell it's the same die because of this die scratch. Randy's coin had this die scratch as well. So we're going to call this Randy's RPM because he was the first one to get one out of the roll. So this is another example of Randy's RPM. Make sure that I didn't miss any hub doubling on the last one. We'll flip it over and take a look at the reverse real quick and see if there might be some chance that I missed doubling on the reverse of the last coin that we looked at from this die pair, but I highly doubt it. Double die reverses are simply just not known for 1949S. This one's going to go Wi-Fi. Gonna go Wi-Fi, go Wi-Fi. Sometimes I have fun with my own stumbling and strapping around and trying to figure out what I'm saying. All right, here we go. Joe Cathy. What does Joe Cathy get? Well, no doubling on the top of the 4, which is one of the first things I look at on these coins. I don't see a repunch mint mark here either. Check the I. Nothing on the I. Nothing on the E. Or the L. A little bit of a polished out clash right there is why that N is so weird shaped. Dies clash together. They hit each other without a planchet between. They try to transfer the design to one another. So mint worker notices it, sees a penny that doesn't look right, takes an emery board or some other polishing mechanism to the die and actually rubs out as much of the lines left behind as possible, and sometimes damages the design in the process. And we end up with a coin that has less design because the die was actually damaged. Now here's Go Wi-Fi again. And Go Wi-Fi this time. What do we have out there? That looks like a bit of damage on the outside of the mint mark. I don't think I'm looking at doubling on the mint mark. Check it out real carefully though. It could be, but I'm thinking not. I'm going to keep this one out, and we're going to watch for another example to come up to see what happens. See what we can read on that coin. So this one's got a lot of die scratches in and around the 1/9 of the date that basically end right above the digits. So that we will be able to find and figure out later. And I've got a third die now that I'm working on collecting in a pile here, which is not surprising at all when it comes to 49S. 49S is loaded with RPMs. Let's see what we get here. Well, it's definitely a 49S. It's not a double die. This is that same die that we saw that mark on the 4 earlier. And I'm not exactly sure what that mark is. It kind of looks like it, a little bit like doubling. But kind of does, but kind of doesn't. I'm going to let this one slip through. Eric will catch it if there's a problem. By the way, there was a die from, what was it, a 1960 plain roll that we did the other day, a Batdorf roll. And I had a couple of possible double die reverses hit and thought, well, maybe that might be a double die reverse, but I'm not going to call it under a Dynoscope because, well, the Dynoscope just doesn't do that great of a job of pulling out the details like that. But Eric received the coins. This is one we did last week, I think. Eric received the coins and has affirmed that we do have WDDR009. Okay, this one doesn't look like anything. And WDDR009. So we had a new listing for copper coins. And yeah, it was during Reveal 284. Found 3 of them in the roll. And that will be a new listing for copper coins, along with the existing 3 coins that we found that were, I believe, double die reverse number 6. DDR number 6. This one again has that same mark in the 4. Maybe that is something I should get used to seeing. I'm not sure that I've really noticed that before. I'm certainly noticing it today. There's some chance that I could be looking at the same die over and over again. Farm Dog. Farm Dog gets one of those really nice RPMs. Gonna have to check, see. I don't know if this is the same die. This is not die number 4, is it? Is this one different? I think it could be different. It is different. I think it is. What did I find for a marker on that last one, on number 4? I do remember a marker, but it wasn't one I mentioned. So I'll flip it over and I'll check on the other side. The first A in America had a bunch of die lines running through it. Yeah, see, this one doesn't. In fact, this one's got a little spike die chip off the A. So this one is probably a different... Punch shoulder is strong. I'm not sure what that means, Coin Dragon. But this is definitely a nice RPM. So I do believe this is a different die. I'm going to call this one with the die scratches. There's 3 die scratches, look like a scratch from an animal, going to the northeast from the 1/9 of the date. And I'm going to call this one a different die. Let's take a look at the reverse real quick. Just give it a nice little shout to the reverse and see if it has a chance of really producing anything for us, which I kind of doubt, but never know until you look, and looking is free. So we're going to call that a 4th different die there for Farm Dog. Now Jeff Dunn. Jeff Dunn is going to get an RPM. This one also is an RPM. You can see the split on the lower serif. Get my light angled properly so that we can see this stuff. You see a really nice little split on the lower serif. You can also see it in the upper serif, but it's a whole lot less obvious. It's actually difficult to see in the upper serif. I think I'm down to a point now where the best I can do is stack these things up, and we can play What's That RPM when Eric gets the coins. Nice little die scratches up there. Good little markers. These are good markers to use in identifying this. Oh, there's a lot of damage on the N right there. It's die damage. The die was actually damaged. So that's going to be an easy marker to identify this RPM. Tis a nice RPM. And this one's going to go to Jeff Dunn. So there we have that. Yeah, the last 49S roll that I did was in carry, and it had a ton of RPMs in the roll. I think it was like 35, 40 coins out of the roll were RPMs, and it was a mixture of a number of different dies. I think there were 15 different RPMs in that roll. There were at least 2 or 3 different ones that we only had one example. Here's another RPM. Another different RPM. This one's for Thomas Thomas. I do not recognize this one as being something we've seen in this roll already. You have nice doubling on the upper and the lower serif. So we're gonna have to pick and choose through these once we get them out to go rehunt the roll. There's another RPM for Thomas. Make the Thomas collection grow 1 coin heavier. 1 coin at a time. Here's one for Mike Birchman again. This one's a nice little split lower serif. Looks like we're going to have our work cut out for us on this particular roll. Just, kind of what I expected, which is why I was like, I'm ready to go full Monty here. And, well, give you guys a really great deal on something that's probably going to pop pretty nicely. And, well, I picked it this time. There we go. We have an RPM, right? RPM 9 has those 3 die scratches like claw marks. Cool. That could be the one that we're after here. I don't know. Here you go, Randy. Take a look at this. What do we have? Well, we've got another one that has that scratch thing on the inside of the 4, and we're going to have to address that eventually, but I do believe this is just a die scratch. I don't know why there's nothing related to it in the area. Is that maybe a split lower serif, a very slight split lower serif I'm seeing there too? I think it is. Well, if it is, we're going to have a few more examples of this die to pull out and try to attribute. Yep, there's actually a little bit of a split along the lower extremity of the mint mark. All this right here, and then your secondary serif right here, your primary serif up here, secondary serif down here. You've got a little bit of separation line. I think this might actually be partially separation line as well right here. It's very, very minor. I don't know if it's going to be enough for us to list, but if it's already listed, we will match it up. We're just not going to get into listing a whole bunch of new stuff that is very, very minor. And then there's our die gouges next to the L again. So this one's going to go in the normal coin pile, and, well, we'll pick it out if it's an RPM. We'll pick them out again. Ones I'm actually picking out for this particular reveal right here are the ones that are the more obvious, nicer looking RPMs. And this one does not appear to have an RPM. I'm also checking I'm checking the eyelid. I'm also checking the L of Liberty. I'm checking the 4 and the date. I'm not really looking at the reverses at this point because, well, I just don't think it's really going to help us much. I do need to let everyone here know also that because of the issue that happened earlier today, I am going to have to cancel and move the proof coin pull to tomorrow. It's going to have to go to tomorrow. I've not had an opportunity to finish all that stuff up, and not only was there more work involved than I had really given myself time to do, but when I have little issues come up, this is one of those RPMs that we've been pulling. I do believe. Nice little split on the lower serif there. You can see the extra piece down there. I pointed that out earlier in a different coin. But I will schedule the proof pull for tomorrow evening. And we will definitely do it tomorrow evening. There is not going to be any more week-long or 2-week-long or however long it was pauses between a sale and a pull. The pull is going to happen. I've been working diligently on it. I've got piles of stuff everywhere trying to get ready for it. So it's just a matter of when I can finally get everything ready for it. This does look like a minor RPM here. Very minor, though. This is that same RPM that has a little... it has just a little bit of a cliff across the bottom. A little tiny bit of separation. I don't think it's going to be anything to get excited about, but we're going to take a look anyway. And I can tell it's the same die because of those 2 die gouges in the L of Liberty. There's actually 3 of them there, but 2 of them are very, very close to one another, and then the other one on the top, the L. Same thing that I saw on the other coin that I feared might be a very minor double die, or a very minor repunch mimic, and it is. All right, yo man. Yo man, now I will go in and I will reschedule the show for tomorrow. I'll reschedule it for tomorrow evening. The one that was supposed to start at 9 p.m., which is exactly 1 hour from now, I will not be able to do tonight because of the unforeseen circumstances that arose this afternoon here in my area. Everyone is fine. There's nothing wrong. There was no house fires or anything like that. It was just an issue that needed to be dealt with. I'm thinking about moving it forward to 7 p.m. What do you guys think? Instead of doing 9 p.m., just do 7 p.m. Another one for Thomas. Right, Randy, I understood that. I appreciate you looking. Let's see here. I don't see anything on this one. Got nothing here. Yeah, that's right. Nightmare on Chuck Street. I'll tell you what. We've got a lot of wonderful people here, and sometimes things just happen where people need to step in and help out, and I was there. So another really nice RPM here, really nice one. I think we're back to that die number 4 again, possibly. Very nice. For Mr. Carl, here we are. Joe McBride now for coin number 23. What do we get for Mr. Mac? We have a minor RPM. That's what we got for Mr. Mac here. It's minor RPM with a definite split lower serif. And as we twirl things around and take a look at the rest of the world of this coin, we see there's a little bit of a grease fill on the B of Liberty. There's a little bit of gunk down inside the B. I see a struck through dropped letter eventually, but not on this one. That's going to go in the RPM pile as well because, well, it's an RPM. How do you know? Adam Connor. Adam Connor coming up here. And another RPM. Boom. There we go. Split lower serif. No double die lid. I've seen this die before because of the little markers that we've got coming off the GO of God. Oh, and this is the messed up N as well. This is the one where there was a lot of die damage on the N. This die was like heavily gouged, so it cut away a lot of the field around the N, and kind of raised the field from underneath the N to the point that it actually distorts the letter of the N. The letter of the N. How about the shape of the N? Come on, Chuck, get your English together. All right, here we go. Correct. Same as coin number 13. And so we are in the middle of a pile of RPMs that we'll have to sort out and separate later. But we're getting a pile here. And I love getting piles together, especially when it's good stuff. Let me move my light back to where it was. There we go. Okay, I got nothing on this particular one. This one goes to Marshall. Do the die gouge. Okay. Looks like I probably have nothing on this one. I do believe Mr. Wexler has listed over 50 different repunchment marks for 1949S. Be any number of these that we're finding could be a new addition to copper coins because we don't quite have as many as he does listed. And I don't disagree with him when looking at his list. So it's just a matter of finding them and being able to cross-reference the information to his system and the photographs that he has on his website. There we go. Which, by the way, is doubleddie.com. That's John Wexler's website. I like using that as my secondary reference when dealing with coins and looking at RPMs and such because I like his photography. The organization of his website is pretty decent. And, well, I just like the guy in general. And of course, there's the Kaneka website as well. The Kaneka website is relatively well put together. I'm not a huge fan of the photography there. There's another RPM. The lighting was too direct on in most of the photographs, and you can't see smaller markers easily in the photographs published there. So, in very, very similar circumstances like this where you have split lower serifs, it can actually be very difficult to use that website to try to identify your die varieties. Oh, here's another name I put in there upside down. I have this OCD about names being upside down. I don't like it. Makes them harder to sort. Oh, there we go. 3 for 3. This one goes to Mr. Fletcher. You can see the little dark line. For those of you watching who have not seen any of this before and don't really know what I'm doing, this little line right here, a little dark line right there with the little light colored line, is actually a change in direction of the metal on the coin, which basically means that you have a little crease right there at the edge of the serif. And this is a serif. A serif is a point of style on the end of a letter. Serifs, and this is sans serif. This has no serif. A serif is usually a triangular point or an edge that's on a letter, and mint marks typically have serifs. And so this is a split serif. We call this split serif because there are actually two S mint mark punches very, very close to one another that shows just enough separation to be able to determine that that is indeed two different punches in one. And, well, those of us nerds who really love going through coins like this with a microscope, we collect these things. And because that mark is like that on the die that created the coin, all of the coins that die creates has that same mark. So we can catalog this as a particular die number, and anybody who comes in behind us and finds that particular die number can look at the attributes of where this S is located because they were all punched in by hand. They can see that this is about equidistant from the 9 and the 4. When you go to the closest point from each letter, you kind of look at that. You also look at the lines things make. So you've got the the line like this line right here from the bottom of the 9 to the bottom of the 4, and your S drops below that. And then you've got this line right here from the bottom of the 9 to the bottom of the 9. The S drops even below that. Then you can take other lines and you can compare things using other lines, like for instance this line right here that the 4 makes, and you're of course left of that line. And so you can take that, you can play that through with different measurements that you can take. Like for instance, the center of the S is directly below the far left of the 4. So if you take the line from the 4 and you drop it straight down, you're going to go right through the center of the mint mark. All these different things are going to be exactly the same on all coins minted by that same die, because that S is not going to move throughout the time that die is minting coins. It's there to stay. It's a bar of steel. And then we look for other things, and we call those things markers. See this little scratch right here in the throat right in front of the bow tie? This little guy right here is going to help us determine if we've seen a coin from this die before, because this is a scratch in the die. It's like a fingerprint. Every coin this die hits after this is going to have that same fingerprint to some degree. And so we can continuously search additional coins. Look, there's some more fingerprint. There's some more scratches on the die, probably caused by a piece of sandpaper or emery board that someone was trying to get a mark off of this die, and they scratched the die in that attempt. When they scratched the die, sorry about that, when they scratched the die, well, that die is going to keep minting that flaw into all future coins. And we call that a marker, an identifying marker. It's kind of like a tattoo on a person. Once you put that tattoo on there, it's always there. You can try to surgically take it off, but it's always going to be visible one way or another, either as a scar or as a tattoo. And so we look for markers all over the obverse and the reverse. And we can find markers in some of the smallest and oddest places. It's just a matter of knowing exactly what you're looking for to see something that's going to be repeated from coin to coin. There's a lot of different areas that we look in to find these little markers. And that's what helps us determine that I'm seeing 2 coins from the same die. And so that's what we're doing. So we have an RPM here. This RPM is going to go on the list with the rest of the RPMs, and we're going to do a forensic look and search to find any die information that we can that's already been published by us at Copper Coins or other people about this particular die. Now see here, this is another example of the same die. You've got the same die scratch there. You've got the same S in the same position with the same little mark in the corner. We'll go over here. You should have some die scratches in the lower RTY of Liberty, or below the R and the T. So this is the same die again. Same die made this coin that made the previous coin. So if this happens to be, and this is just a very hypothetical thing, if this happens to be RPM number 12, then both of them are going to be RPM number 12. Well, you can, Rhonda, over a period of time, with exposure and with a little bit of self-education, a little bit of exploration, you can see and find this stuff that I'm finding here. I take a little bit of money too, because you're going to have to find rolls of coins to go through. But you can see and find this kind of stuff, and you can turn your think logic on and start working with your think logic. This is a very, I'm going to say a very educated level of numismatics. People can buy coins in holders that have a number on them, and just with money you can be successful as a coin collector, simply because you're buying stuff that's going to go up in value and you resell it and it goes up in value and stuff like that. And that's all great and wonderful, but that does not satiate me. For me, it requires a scientific end of things, something that is very difficult yet easy to do. Difficult because there's a lot of them. Difficult because finding the individual ones RPMs, double dice, finding all of the different individual ones is very difficult to do. But it's not all that difficult to find examples of repunchment marks and double dies if you just learn what you're looking for and start looking through some rolls of coins. Yes, there's no cult following here. And so, yeah, I've been doing this. Oops. Got a little stain on this coin. Huge die scratches, though. Oh, my gosh, look at those die scratches. Those things are major. What do we have going on down here? Yeah, we've got a normal coin, it looks like. But, man, those are some massive die scratches. You know, over a period of 45 years, I've learned a lot. And I think it is... Well, it's tantamount to being criminal to learn all this stuff and not share it. I mean, why would you want to learn a bunch of stuff and not share it with other people, not give other people an opportunity to gain from it? Whether you're gaining financially or if you're just gaining in knowledge and gaining in fun and something to do, it doesn't make any difference. What matters is that you're gaining. You're learning something. You're doing something with your brain. Oh, there we go. There's another one of them. Really, really nice RPM. This one's going to Deanne. We know this die. We've seen this die. We've seen it come through here plenty of times before. We know that, like, for instance, this little die gouge that comes down and hits the top of the L. I've seen that die gouge on every one of these. So it's the same die over and over again. It's a relatively major RPM. It's a very nice RPM. And so, you know, this is one of those things where you learn from what you're doing, and then you learn to the point where you can teach others. See, there's the scratches around the A that I saw on one of the other ones that I saw. So this is definitely the same die as the others. And so we'll pull that out for Deanne. This coin is actually, I would call it a 65 red. I think this is an MS65 red. So, yeah, I mean, you got really nice coins in here, too. Nice high-quality roll. I like it. Well, if you do, you're smart. If you don't, well, we'll find something you like eventually. See, here's the one with the messed up N again. We know that as a marker for this particular die because that die was really damaged right there. I mean, that's pretty heavy damage. Then you can see these really thick die scratches coming off the G and the O of God. That's another really good marker to tell us we've seen this die before. We know this is a repunchment mark, and we can identify this by comparing those markers. Another one for Deanne. Let's see if Deanne gets another RPM. So far, we've been pulling one after another. This is not an RPM, and I know that because I have seen this die a few times in this roll. We got these really heavy die scratches around the 1 and the 9, and there's no doubling on the mint mark, and there's no doubling on the coin. This is basically just a normal 1949 S. Lincoln Cent. There's a really nice heavy die gouge next to the W of we. So, I mean, there's all kinds of little markers left behind on these that you can find. And going through a roll of this age is actually something that is very educational. It's very fun to do. The only problem is it's kind of expensive. I mean, these rolls are over $100 a piece. They're not cheap to get. Here's Carl. Carl for a 49S. This is another one of the non-RPM dies. This one is not an RPM and not a double die of any kind. And so we skip this one. It's normal. Up to coin number 40 now. How did we do that? We went from 37 to 40. Nope. I'm not supposed to do it that way. 38. Have I been doing this all along? 38, 41, 42, 43, 44, 39, 40. There we go. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. I must have gotten that pile messed up there. Okay, so on to coin number 38 now. 38 goes to Jeff Dunn. And here is a coin for Jeff Dunn. This one is not an RPM. Not apparent anyway. It could be an RPM, but it would be a very minor one. If it is an RPM, that is it right there. Be a very slight S over S West. But man, that's going to be so small. I don't think it's going to be one that we're actually even going to try to list. So when I say that, what I mean is it's so minor that in today's standards of listing RPMs, I just really don't want to get into listing a bunch of little tiny fly speck stuff. But if it's already listed with someone, I'll definitely identify it for you. That's not the issue. The issue is that I don't want to go listing a bunch of brand new stuff. That's just going to be a headache for people to try to collect, because they're rather difficult to see in BU. They would be pretty much impossible to see in lower circulated grades. And, well, not everyone can afford BU rolls of 1949S to dig through looking for these. There's another nice RPM. Another nice RPM. This one's for Deanne again. Spiked Head Die Crack, rummaging through his 69S rolls because he didn't know about the reverse counterclash. See? Something to know. Something to gain from. If you find one, I'm more than happy for you. If you find two of them, well, contact me. Let me know. Solo Smoke. What does Solo Smoke get? Well, there's another nice RPM. Beautiful RPM right there for Solo Smoke. This is going to be one that we have already seen in this roll, I'm sure. I'm kind of at a point where I'm not really even paying attention to trying to match die to die because, well, we're at about half the roll is RPMs, and there's a bunch of different ones. It's kind of common for a 49S roll, actually. Kind of common. Happens. Malcolm, that's not necessarily true. I have gotten rolls off eBay before. If you know what you're looking for and you know how to spot the ones that have been rewrapped and the ones that are just garbage, you can usually get a decent roll there. I have ordered a number of decent rolls in the past, and I've gotten stuff out of them. Especially circulated rolls. Circulated rolls tend to be ones that people don't generally go through very closely, and so they're not going to see all the goodies. So when you're doing the circulated rolls, you can either order the more modern rolls, the ones in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and you can see what you can find in those. But generally, when I'm going for the circulated rolls, I'm looking for stuff like 1925S. And I look for 1917 plain. That's a cheap roll you can get that you can find a really, really nice double die in that a lot of people have no clue how to detect. And the good thing about going through rolls like that is that you've got all the same date and mint mark together without having to sort them. And you can probably find some goodies in them. I mean, there's a chance of finding good stuff in them, even off of eBay. This is that normal one with the die scratches between the 1 and the 9 of the date. We've already established there's nothing on this particular die, so we're going to keep going. We're going to go right through it. There's your die gouge on the left side of the W again. And this one goes to Eric. Now coin number 44. 44 goes to Marshall, Mr. Marshall. This coin's for you. Well, unfortunately, I don't see anything on this one of great use to us. And for this one, we will move on to the next coin to see what we get. We've got a total of 6 coins left. These 6 coins remain in the roll. We got coin number 45 for Jeff Dunn. It's kind of fun. Jeff contacted me and said he wanted the spots if he could get them. He was in the reveal for $2.99 yesterday. I want the spots if I can get them. I'm like, yeah, okay. They're yours. But we had nothing on that coin, unfortunately. I think you already got an RPM out of this. One, anyway. Wouldn't expect the world, but an RPM once in a while is a good thing. This one does not have an RPM on it. Coin's a little not as nice as some of the other coins in the roll. I mean, it's still fine. It's a decent red coin, but it's not, it's not really pretty. I mean, see, let's see if I can. Yeah, see, it's got nice luster and everything, but it's got a couple of little stains and a couple of little marks on it. We like to have goodies. I know that. We all like to have goodies. There's another, not an RPM as it appears. Yeah, this is that one that's got the heavy die scratches. I mean, those are pretty much gouges, not really even scratches at this point. Those are huge. And this is a normal die because we know those scratches. And you can probably see those things without a microscope. Yeah, those scratches are heavy enough. I can see them just looking at the coin. How about that? All right, that's coin number 47. We got 3 left. Here's coin number 48 for you. This goes to Carl. 48 goes to Carl, and he gets an RPM. You get an RPM, and you get an RPM, and you get an RPM. Yes, it's nice. I love this feeling. Love the feeling of being able to go through a roll and have a lot of goodies for people. All right, Carl's going to get a nice RPM out of this. Move on to coin number 49 now. Coin number 49 goes to Malcolm. And this will be Malcolm's coin. And do we have an RPM or no? I'm going to have to go with a no on this particular case. No doubling of any kind. That's for Mr. Malcolm. Last coin in the roll, Adam Chambers. And here is what is on the last coin of the roll is one of the nice RPMs. One of the really good ones is, I believe I've been told that this was RPM number 4, 1mm number 4. And so the end roll coin was one of those. This was stuffed way down inside the paper roll, taped over plenty of times. Nothing else here to talk about, really. I'm kind of just looking around to see what I can see. And that marks the end of this roll. I would like to congratulate all who got involved in this roll and was able to get these spots at a good price. I'm going to keep trying to do that for you. Pick up rolls as many as I can when I can. Get good ones when I can do it. Here's all your non-varieties. These are all the normal coins in the roll. And then the die varieties are a nearly equal stack. We have, I'm going backwards in order, coins numbered 48, 40, 39, 35, 34, 30, 29, 28, 27, 24, 23, 22, 20, 15, 14, 13, 12, 8, 6, 5, 3. All die varieties. I'll flip through these real quick with you. while I let you know that I will be broadcasting that proof pull tomorrow. I've had a lot of setbacks trying to get ready for it. Basically, what I was doing with this one, I've got rolls and rolls of proof coins that I've never been through. Nobody's ever been through them for die varieties or anything to that effect. And at $2 a coin, these things are a steal because a lot of these things are $3, $4, $5 a piece coins. Anybody count? I'm going to count these real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 RPMs out of this roll. 21 RPMs out of this one single roll. This one's going to be headed off Monday to Florida for a re-examination of every coin and listing on the website if needed. 21. Well, folks, I appreciate everybody being here. This has been fun. It's been really nice. You guys are a wonderful audience to have. And I have... Let's see. I have 8 rolls going to be coming up in the auction on Tuesday. 8 additional new reveal rolls. I'd like to see you guys there. Get a chance to get involved in these and have some fun with me. I also have, let's see, I have a request to do the pound bags of wheat pennies. I'll be doing the pound bags of both the early wheats and the later wheats. Mac, I haven't sent out invoices on this particular roll yet. I will get the invoices out momentarily. There won't be any shipping charge on this because these are going to go with the other reveals that we've already done. So it's just going to be merely an invoice with the cost of the items themselves. I appreciate that, Rhonda. I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate being able to give out knowledge, and I appreciate people being there to listen to it because, well, my wife certainly doesn't. But she loves me anyway, I think. I'm sure. It's just... sometimes she's a little harsh about, every conversation we have has to go into pennies. Why? And I said, well, it's because it's pretty much what I do for a living. It's what I do every day. And if it's what I do for a living, if it's what I do every day, I ask you, how was your day? How was your work? What's going on with your work? Is this person, that person doing okay and everything and blah, 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 blah. And we are talking about things, and she thinks that we're having a great conversation, but she's not involving herself with what I was doing today. Well, what I was doing today. Open a new couple of rolls, got an auction ready, prep some mail to package and send out. I'm working on getting my reveals more streamlined. I'm working on getting my website reprogrammed because, well, when you look up double dies, I want to be able to look them up and see all the different markers. And then she just says, okay. You had a good day, I guess. Well, yeah, I did. But sometimes it really helps when I have people to converse with, people to be able to bounce ideas off of. And I've got a number of really great people who I work with closely, but I've also got a number of great people out there in the audience who actually watch and send me messages and say hi to me. And it just feels like a big family. So... keeps you occupied and out of trouble. That's pretty much exactly what you need, I think. Everybody needs that. So we've at least got something to do that we say is a passion, that we can say is productive. And on that note, I think I'm going to say that I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Hey, Melanie. And I am going to have to run off now. Go down and make dinner. It's actually 8:30 and I haven't done dinner yet because I didn't have time. So I'll talk to you guys later, and we'll see. It'll be tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the proof pull. 7 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. I'll see you then, folks. Have a great evening.